get up and dash 100 meters and I would eat up the competition. It's just non-existent. I kick my feet up. Thought I was passing till I got blasted.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Now we got to talk about Final Battle 2021, which is the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view of this era. So in April, a new era will begin. What is this era? I don't know. But this show was a let's get everybody we possibly can on this show kind of show. And I think it really suffered for it. There have been many. I know this was about the final vestiges of Ring of Honor, but I think that if you were going to do that, you still could have done it a lot better than the way they did it. I'm not going to say the show was bad. I'm just saying that it was not that great. As far as a show that got a lot of mainstream attention in terms of the wrestling journalist class. And a lot of people paying attention to it. For the first time, you started seeing people actually live tweeting about Ring of Honor, and not sarcastically. But I don't think they put on the best show that they could. That's just my opinion. I think they've had much better shows. This was clearly a show where they just wanted to get everybody possible on the show. I mean, the pre-show had a 6-man championship title switch with the Righteous winning the titles. There was like a 10-person scramble match. That was intergender. There was all kinds of stuff going on here. There was, but that was the pre-show. We want to talk about the main show. We're also going to talk about some of the video packages that played throughout. Mostly these were Ring of Honor alumni from AEW. We were told there was going to be significant help from AEW. It turns out it was just Jay Lethal. And that was like the another odd thing here is watching Impact and Ring of Honor essentially carve up the corpse of Ring of Honor. It was so weird. Like Impact was like, yeah, we kind of want your women's division, so we'll just take a piece of that. And then AEW's like, you know what? We kind of like your tag team division. We'll take that. And, your tag team champions and your women's champion. And so the world title and the pure title are kind of like, and the TV title are kind of like there. While there is at least a future to be had with these other belts. But we'll talk about that stuff when we get there. All right, so the match 1 on the card was Dragon Lee versus Ray Horus. It was a good match. Good action, good back and forth stuff. Not the best match these guys have ever had. It was good though. Dragon Lee lost the TV title to Dalton Castle on television in a weird decision, really weird decision, especially considering Dalton Castle lost the title in the next match. But we'll talk about that in a second. So Dragon Lee, amazing as he is, was not prominently featured on this show, and he probably should have been. As I said just a few seconds ago, Dalton Castle lost the Ring of Honor television title in a fatal 4-way or 4-corner survival. It was Dalton Castle, Joe Hendry, Silas Young, and Rhett Titus. So, Joe Hendry, I haven't seen him in a year. I don't think he's been there the entire time of the pandemic unless he's been doing the Wednesday matches and I haven't been paying attention to them. This is the first time I've seen this guy in a year. The match was fine. It was all right. Nothing to write home about. Dalton Castle was limited due to his back. The rest of these guys are limited due to charisma or just general not interested in them. Rhett Titus wins the match, securing his first and probably only singles championship in Ring of Honor. He had been pursuing this for a while. I think it would have fit a lot better if he'd have beat Dragon Lee for it. Considering there was this whole feud between La Facción and Gobernables and the Foundation, and you could have had this be like the final battle of that whole ordeal, and had Rhett Titus secure the television title for the Foundation. It would have been sweet, but and he pinned Silas Young. So Dalton Castle got to be TV champion for about 2 or 3 weeks, which probably was a little bit longer, depending on when that thing was taped. All right, so Brian Johnson was defeated by Josh Woods, who Josh Woods retains the Pure Championship. Brian Johnson told the fans to get bent, despite the fact that all of this that they're doing tonight is for them. Brian Johnson, as you know, the Pure rules, you get 3 rope breaks. Brian Johnson blew through 2 of his rope breaks in less 90 seconds in. At the end, at about the 10-minute mark, Brian Johnson didn't have any rope breaks left. He ended up in like a standing triangle choke while Josh Wood sat on the top rope. This, because he didn't have any rope breaks left, was a legal hold, and so Brian Johnson lost consciousness, ref stoppage, and Josh Woods wins. Good match, not the best match, solid. Josh Woods can definitely have better matches than this. I did not notice and probably forgot, maybe I knew it and forgot, but I didn't know until recently that Josh Woods is actually a trainee of the WWE Performance Center, and that he was actually one of the people helping to train Bryan Danielson for his big WWE return. There was an article about this, about Matt Bloom kind of threatening him that if he hurt him, he was going to get fired. Very interesting decision that Josh Woods was signed to WWE at one point, because he's amazing. He's really good. You know, that's the amateur background. The guy is very smooth. I saw that he is taking shots in AEW so far. They got him on Dark, so that should tell you something. They don't see much in him. Hopefully he can get over somewhere. Hopefully he gets to like Impact or something. Josh Woods is probably my favorite guy in Ring of Honor that's sort of a newer guy. You know, he's really good. And he showed that he has range in terms of character and promo and stuff like that. I am not in favor of him just coming out working on AEW Dark. That would be suck ass. You know, it's a decent gig if you can get it, I guess. But it's not, he should definitely be doing better than that. And I'm not so sure he can, you know, if he didn't make it in NXT the first time, I don't see why he would make it again. But, you know, I wouldn't be against him if he was to show up in NXT. I think that would be great. He's a big guy too, so WWE's looking at him like, hey, he got some size to him. He got a little bit of seasoning on him now. You know, he's an amateur wrestler. I think they maybe have signed him before. Go back to it, unless he's gotten too old, which I don't think so. But maybe he'll float over to Impact or something like that and find what he's looking for. So then we got our string of woke matches, which of course is the reason why I'm not too upset and didn't get too emotional about Ring of Honor going out of business, as the company did go woke a couple of years ago. Shane Taylor versus Kenny King. Shane Taylor versus Kenny King, fight without honor. This was based off their history that they've had lately, where they were friends. And then Kenny King joined La Facción Ingobernables, turned into a complete douchebag, turned his back on Shane Taylor, and they've been trading wins against each other ever since. The opening promos to this thing is Shane Taylor talked about, we always promised that if one of us was here, the other one would stay here. Or if one of us would leave, the other would stay, or something like that. And because it was all about the representation, seeing somebody who looks like you. And I'm just like, God, this shit must be like a religion. Like, it's all this guy talks about. You know, I was not validated by Ahmed Johnson. That's so weird. But Kenny King cuts a regular wrestling promo by saying that you're gonna fuck around and turn me into the old me. You know, the old me didn't wear silk shirts, didn't wear suits. You know, the old me was gutter. And so when he comes out for his entrance in this match, he's wearing like a do-rag and like like a Dickie shirt. Trying to go off with the whole I'm gutter thing. Okay. He's also wearing an Oni mask, which is like an ogre's mask from it's like a Japanese thing. These two guys proceeded to beat the hell out of each other, but you can tell they were just kind of like friends going through the motions. At one point, Shane Taylor, who is a good 400 pounds, did a splash off the top rope, I think maybe, threw a table on Kenny King, and Kenny King was kind of smiling afterwards. I was like, oh, how unprofessional is that? How unprofessional is that, bud? Also, Kenny King sort of just stood by and let Shane Taylor build a thing with some ladders because it was taking him forever to do it. It was literally taking a long time. A long time. And Kenny King just kind of stood there for a while and kind of let it happen. He eventually kind of broke it up or whatever. But these guys were just throwing everything at one another. This was that kind of night where it was your finisher isn't a finisher. Your big moves don't matter. We're doing everything on each other. So get with it. And so this led to a package pile driver. I'm pretty sure it was through a table or was it through a ladder. It was a package pile driver through a ladder that they called it the Marcus Garvey driver, the Shane Taylor's finisher. And he took forever to throw Kenny King in the ring. He only got a 2 count. Then he grabbed a chair and Kenny King dared him, cussed him out to hit him with the chair. He hit Kenny King in the head with the chair, did the package pile driver on the chair again, pinned Kenny King. So Shane Taylor wins the end of their feud, which is, the right decision. The good guy's supposed to go over in the end. After the match, Kenny King is standing up, and they share a moment where all of the black wrestlers are in the ring. Inexplicably, all the black wrestlers are in the ring. Even guys who don't have anything to do with this feud. It's like that scene from the Avengers Infinity War where all the women were standing there. It's like, look at all of our... I'm not going to even go that far. But they basically, it was kind of like, I think he gave Kenny King a jacket. Might have been a Shane Taylor Promotions jacket. I couldn't really tell what it was. But, I guess it's just a sign of their feud now finally being over. And thank God for that. In the 5th match, Willow was defeated by Roxy. Roxy wins with the Code Red or the Code Rock. She kind of got booed at the end of this. I think more people wanted Willow to win than Roxy, which is weird. But like I said, this is a part of our woke collection. Ian Riccaboni, what he says is that I try to avoid talking about the bodies of the women because Quinn McKay is on commentary and she gave, I think it was maybe Willow or Roxy, she gave one of them compliments on the bangs in their hair, and she was kind of nudging these guys to also give her credit for the bangs in her hair. And Ian Riccaboni get all weird about it. I try to avoid talking about the bodies of the women wrestlers. It's like, what the fuck? Come on. Come on. And then when Quinn McKay kind of gave him a pass, it was like, well, if you get bangs, you can talk about it. And he was like, well, and if EC3 gets a new vein in his shirt, in his chest, I get to talk about that too. I'm like, what? Sure, you could talk about the guy being in great shape. That's fine. But you can also talk about a woman's hair. You can't just be like censoring yourself forever. Like, if you're going to get weird, then it's not comfortable. It's not right. You shouldn't be out here trying to validate people. Just do your fucking job, man. This is one of the reasons why I'm not too upset about Ring of Honor going under. This company went nuts with this horse shit. It's one thing to be, even the WWE way of, maybe the wrestlers are a little too woke and they talk about it a lot. But it started being like a company-wide thing, and it started getting really annoying. Like this preachy horse shit. Get the fuck out of here with this. We can't talk about the bodies of the women. We can't talk about the And then they had an intergender match earlier, and it was like, the women, she's so tough. She's tougher than anybody. Gender doesn't matter. Like, y'all didn't start doing intergender matches until right now. You had the opportunity to do intergender matches the whole time. You didn't do it. Shut up, Riccaboni. Anyway. Roxy, after she won her match, she was approached by Deonna Purrazzo, who still has the AAA Reinas de Reinas championship. And she essentially challenged Roxy for the ROH women's title at Impact Wrestling's Hard to Kill in a winner-take-all match. So, the Ring of Honor women's title will continue to be defended, perhaps in Impact. And maybe they'll go back to doing the Forbidden Door thing or whatever. I know Deonna Purrazzo, it literally came out maybe a couple of hours before this show. And she was kind of disappointed that none of the women got to participate in the Forbidden Door. So maybe they're going to run it back so that they can get that opportunity. It seems like that's what they're going to do. That's what it feels like to me. Like all of these smaller companies are still working together. But it also looks like they're all tripping over one another because everybody, look, it's going to be an interesting market. And I think Jay Lethal put this out there why he left Ring of Honor early before Final Battle because he wanted to beat the market. You know, he says, look, it would be easier for me to go out and get a good deal now than before the market gets flooded and everybody's got no job. So that's kind of how the business is now. So a lot of people need to think about that when they talk about wrestler pay. Think about how flooded the market is now. There are far more wrestlers than there are places for them to work. So you got to consider what that does to wrestler pay. You could just be easily replaced, you know, especially if you're signed on some type of financial deal. But that's neither here nor there. The idea of Deonna Purrazzo wrestling Roxy is pretty cool. I like that. Deonna Purrazzo is likely going to win the ROH women's title. I like that too. That's also very cool. The concept of Deonna Purrazzo having 3 belts, the ROH title, which will of course be a zombie belt, considering we don't know in what form Ring of Honor will continue. The AAA women's title, which is half dead, considering AAA and their championships are kind of iffy. It's like, who cares really? But Impact actually literally does care about their Knockouts title. And if she was to win that, she would have those 3 at one time, and that would make her excellent. So hopefully maybe that's the next step. Or maybe, you know, Roxy becomes the AAA women's champion, what's the likelihood of that? Not likely. Another match where we just had to get everybody on the card. We had Violence Unlimited, which consisted of Homicide, Brody King, Tony Deppen, and the injured Chris Dickinson. And Chris Dickinson did not wrestle. And he was replaced by Rocky Romero. And their opponents were Tracy Williams, Eli Isom, Tyler Rust, and EC3. What did any of these guys have in common? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This match seemed to go on forever. I really kind of lost interest in this match. I did not care because it's just a match for match's sake. Violence Unlimited won the match, and that was kind of it. After the match, though, things got a little bit saucy because EC3 got on the microphone and said that there's no honor in what they do. There's no honor at all in corporate wrestling, 3-letter wrestling. There's no honor in it. And that the wrestlers sacrifice and get nothing. Their leaders, their locker room leaders, keep their office jobs and don't sacrifice and don't lose anything. And he told Brian Johnson, who he named as one of the guys who sacrificed and didn't get anything. He said, you lost the biggest match of your career. You've lost everything. And that what makes you dangerous. Then he said that this isn't an invasion. This is a call to arms. This is a call to take back the industry, to control your narrative, and that he suffered the humiliation of being fired publicly. He even lost his home. But he promised that if these guys pledge their lives to him, they can learn to control their narrative too. They can gain freedom. And then he said that to control your narrative, you have to fight. So now all of these guys, which includes Wesley Blake, now going by Weston Blake, Eli Isom, Dak Draper, a lot of the middle card guys of Ring of Honor, they're just kind of hanging around, watching EC3 do this sermon. And then he says, free the Titan. And then here comes Giant Adam Scherr, a.k.a. Braun Strowman, marching to the ring, and he just beats everybody up. Which, of course, he should do. It got a huge reaction, by the way. You know, because I don't think anybody was expecting him to be there. Monster reaction. Very good. I actually like that. Then they started carrying bodies away. You know, they started carrying Dak Draper and Brian Johnson and Eli Isom away. More than likely to do another control your narrative thing. So if you're interested in helping your boy do another video on that, please send the link. So, because I probably would not be buying it. So this is just, you know, more people carving up the corpse of Ring of Honor. You know, EC3's got his own thing going on. So he's kind of like, okay, I'll just take these guys and we'll go do some stuff over here. And, that's good, because there's a lot of these guys who need character development. And all of these guys are part of that list. Brian Johnson has just been a miserable dickhead for over a year now. He's been good at it, but it's kind of been one dimensional. He just kind of yells at everybody and gets very, very angry. Eli Isom has just been the most nice boy next door, kind of guy in the world. I mean, pocket protectors and, the kind of guy who will offer to cut your grass for you, the kind of guy who walk down the street and help grandma take the groceries in the house, this kind of guy, the guy who changed the spark plugs in your car for nothing, the guy who, hey, how you doing, pal? That kind of guy. The Truman Show. He's that dude. And it's been okay, but he's needed some character development for a long time. And Dak Draper he reminds me a lot of Duke Hudson from NXT 2.0, where he's tall, he has some charisma, but Dak Draper is like legit funny. And I think actually better than Duke Hudson in terms of wrestling and in terms of how he projects himself, his confidence and everything. But he's just kind of been going in circles. They had this stupid thing with just him and Dalton Castle and Eli Isom, and there just seemed to be no real rhyme or reason to it. But these guys couldn't get along. So now they're going to be on this control your narrative thing. And that should be fun. We should all enjoy that. So the seventh match was, to me, the match of the night. It was OGK versus the Briscoes for the ROH Tag Team Championships. And these dudes literally threw everything at one another. To go through all the spots would be too much. This was very good. The OGK came out to the original theme, which is I Got Something For You, which is the song that most people know is attached to Adam Cole. Maria was in their corner as well, kind of reprising her role as their manager. The entire Briscoe clan was there. I think Mark had 6 kids. Almost all of them were there. I think he got the 7th on the way. So they was kicking out of each other's biggest moves. Taven kicked out of the red net boogie, which was like a power bomb neck breaker. It's a pretty badass move. They did the Kingdom. We'll call them the Kingdom. So what? They did like a hanging splash where they dangled one of the Briscoes off the ring apron, and Taven jumped off the top rope into a splash. That was pretty sweet. My favorite move though was the Flight of the Conqueror Doomsday Device, which I think was really great. It's Mike Bennett picks up one of the Briscoes on his shoulders. Taven does a huge jump over the top rope into a clothesline. Great spot. Only got a 2 count though. Awful, I mean, this was that kind of show where these sort of things happened. And it was a 2 count. The big finish came with the Briscoes hitting the Froggy Bow, which is Mark Briscoe's finish on Matt Taven. 1, 2, 3. They're now the 12-time ROH Tag Team Champions. Afterwards, the Briscoes said that this might be the end of an era, but it's not the end of the Briscoes. And then essentially he issued an open challenge, which FTR responded after a lengthy lights turned off segment, which all was booked by Tony Khan, and you can tell. Because the lights were out, and then the lights were out forever. And then the music plays, the FTR music, and then they popped up behind the Briscoes, and they fought, and then there was a big pull apart, and then there was some more fighting and another pull apart. Tony Khan did the only thing he could have and should have done through this whole ordeal is get the Briscoes. The Briscoes versus FTR is where the money is. That's smart booking by Tony Khan. If you didn't get anything else out of this whole nonsense, get the Briscoes. That's what he needs. That audience, they fit in AEW as well because they have these authentic guys like the Eddie Kingstons and the Santana and Ortizes. The Briscoes fit right in there. Problem is, none of those guys are doing well. Santana and Ortiz and Eddie Kingston, they're highlights when they're allowed to do something. But for the most part, they're on the back burner. They're They're the second string guys. And I'm pretty sure the Briscoes probably won't care. It's likely it's going to be the money. So whatever. But the Briscoes versus FTR, that's bills right there. I fully support that idea, and we need to put some heat on it. Put a little bit more heat on it, and then I'll be all down for it. The main event, Jay Lethal versus Jonathan Gresham. They did not play on the history of these two. They basically just kept talking about how Jay Lethal was signed with AEW. They let it be known on the pre-show that they will be fighting for the original Ring of Honor World title because Bandito, who was the Ring of Honor World Champion, caught COVID literally he tested positive for COVID 2 days before a final battle, a final kick in the nuts to a final battle into Ring of Honor. Hey, you thought your show was going to go off without a hitch. You're going to get to have this big celebration of Ring of Honor. Nope. Kick you right in the balls. World champion can't be there. So they decided to put this belt on the line. And I'm wondering, how can Ring of Honor have 2 world championships? Did we invalidate Bandito's belt? I don't remember seeing how that's going to work. I don't know. Maybe we're going to have Bandito come back and say, I never was beat. And we're going to, maybe in April, have the 2 of them clear that up. Or maybe it's going to be a Jonathan Gresham's Terminus thing. I don't know. But this match was pretty good. It was a pretty good match. I enjoyed it, but it just kind of felt disjointed. It felt disconnected. It felt like their match in the pure tournament was far better than this. Because it felt like a true match with heat. With, even though it wasn't guys that were feuding, they were partners actually, but there was passion there. This felt like that time Taz went to the ECW show to win the title from Mike Awesome. Completely and totally separate. Jay Lethal felt like a guy who wasn't even supposed to be there because he wasn't supposed to be there. They didn't find a way to work him in that make him feel special or make it feel like it was a big deal. Because he felt like, even though he wasn't gone that long, he's only been gone a couple of weeks. But just visually, he seemed to have checked out of Ring of Honor. He didn't seem to really be there. And it seemed like he was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this favor. And that's kind of it. But they still had a pretty good match. Gresham hit 3 or 4 of his running forearm strikes, which I finally learned to finish the name to, which is called the bayonet, which is cool. The finish came with Jonathan Gresham getting in the octopus stretch, and which makes sense and is poetic because they call him the octopus. Before the match ended, though, the entire locker room had emptied out for the match. So it's like a bunch of guys around the ring and they're banging on the ring apron. And it was an awesome visual for the last stretch of the match. Of course, it's like, how did they know this match was going to end at this point? You should have been there the whole time. But it was a cool visual, that everybody respected this match. It's like, you sell out the locker room. Everybody's there. Everybody wants to see what's going to happen. So after Gresham wins, the first person in the ring is Jordan Grace, who is his wife. They hug. They celebrate. We talk about how, the new era is over. Well, this era is over. The new era begins. And I think from top to bottom, it was an okay show. If it wasn't like if it wasn't billed as a grand finale, I probably wouldn't be so hard on it. If it was just another Ring of Honor show, I'd probably be like, it was okay. And I might actually, but because it was a grand finale, I kind of expected more. And for it, and I think that the one thing I kind of saw Smarks saying on Twitter that I thought was actually pretty funny is that, a bunch of these guys were basically out here working their resume. They're going to do everything they know how to do because they're trying to impress essentially AEW because they know WWE is not signing most of these guys. So they're out here trying to, impress Tony Khan and do all their best shit. They're out here trying to work their way into Jacksonville. Or Nashville. I'm thinking that Impact is probably going to end up signing more of these guys than AEW do. And Impact will be smart to do so. They need a lot of talent, especially the women. And they need to really replenish their male talent too, because a lot of their male talent is kind of whack, But so if I were them, I thought that was pretty funny, and it's probably true that all these guys are working super hard to make sure that Tony Khan sees them and sees that they have value and that they can do something, because this is the kind of thing Tony Khan cares about. I didn't see anything on this show that Vince would be interested in, or the WWE. As far as I'm concerned, I see some big talented dudes. I saw some guys that have already been fired from WWE, like EC3, go out there and show out, but that's about it. Nobody who hasn't already been fired, So, you notice I probably skipped a lot of the videos, which were basically just guys saying how much they like Ring of Honor and how much they enjoyed their time there. It was CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, and but to me, what really kind of frustrated me with the CM Punk and Bryan Danielson stuff. Well, I shouldn't say CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. It was more like CM Punk, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page, and Adam Cole. That's what I was thinking of. Is that what it came across as a thank you to Ring of Honor also came across as a indirect commercial for AEW. For instance, CM Punk talked about the spirit of Ring of Honor and how, you shouldn't be upset that Ring of Honor is gone. You should be glad that it happened. And that the company today is not the company that he was in. And it wasn't the company 2 weeks after he left or 2 weeks after he was there in the first place or whatever. I don't know what he was trying to say. It seemed like he really just didn't want to talk about it, but he just had to show his face. But he kept talking about the spirit of Ring of Honor, and and he carries that spirit today, and hopefully he's going to carry that spirit with him into AEW. And it's like, and that's when I think that's when I noticed it. It's because I was like, wait a minute, what does AEW and Ring of Honor got to do with each other? And I was like, wait a minute, he's talking about if you are a Ring of Honor fan and you've been hesitant about watching AEW, which there are none, by the way. I can pretty much guarantee you if you watch this show, you also watch Dynamite. But to say like the spirit of Ring of Honor is going to live on in AEW, which I feel like that's what he was trying to say, even if he didn't say that, seems kind of weird. Now, I do believe he said that a lot of the top guys in wrestling today came from Ring of Honor, and that's absolutely true. And which leads me to, before I get into another criticism of AEW, criticizing WWE. Samoa Joe, Kevin Steen, Sami Zayn, Damian Priest, none of those guys were allowed to, I don't think any of those guys appeared. Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, those guys are very important guys. Like, the company's already fucking dead. That's the weird thing to me about this, why WWE didn't allow these guys to even send videos. It's like, the company's already fucking dead. It's not like this was going to turn things around. Like, if you'd allowed Samoa Joe to show up in front of that crowd just to talk, would that have changed whether Ring of Honor is going out of business or, they're not going to be in operations anymore until April? It wouldn't have changed a damn thing. If you'd allowed Kevin Owens to address the crowd for a couple of minutes, would that have changed the business for Ring of Honor? No. It would have just made the people who were there happy. And that would have been it. Now, a criticism I have of Tony Khan is I feel like it turned into shameless self-promotion. Where it turned into, oh, look at Tony, he's being so nice. He stuck a camera in Bryan Danielson's face and said, hey, what do you think about Ring of Honor essentially going out of business? And then Bryan Danielson gives them 4 sentences. They ship it to a Ring of Honor, and then they act like, hey, look, we did something. We did a thing. Where the only thing they really did was shot an angle, which is probably going to end up paying off on AEW TV. When Adam Cole did his Ring of Honor salute, it was right in front of a Rampage screen. So you got AEW Rampage blinking over his shoulder as he talks about, well, I was fortunate enough to be the AEW, the Ring of Honor world champion and get to travel the world. And this, it's over his shoulder. You just can't ignore it. AEW Rampage, AEW Rampage, AEW Rampage. It's like, what the? Are you serious? It's like, okay. Danielson didn't mention AEW at all, which is typical of Danielson and very professional with him. He, of course, thanked the fans and thanked the company and said that the fans made ROH and made him who he is. But that sentiment was essentially everybody's sentiment. And essentially everybody said the same thing, Everybody talked about their time there, thanking Ring of Honor for giving them a chance, taking them all over the world, that kind of thing. It was pretty bland, boilerplate stuff. I think after the second or third time I heard that, I just kind of tuned it out. And it was just I was just kind of saying, is somebody going to show up in the building? That's what I thought. That was my question. My question was, when I heard that Tony Khan was sending, quote, substantial help to Ring of Honor, I was like, oh, he's going to send Danielson to the building. He's going to send Punk to the building. You could have had Punk open the show and Danielson close the show. Would have been great. I mean, I could lobby that criticism towards AEW as well. Because, they're talking about they want to help. At least WWE isn't even saying they want to help. They don't give a shit about Ring of Honor. They helped Ring of Honor enough during their fledgling early days. But to me, I think it just would have been nice for a guy like Samoa Joe. Ring of Honor is the house Samoa Joe built. Kevin Steen, was built in Ring of Honor. Tyler Black was built there. And I know that maybe somebody like Seth Rollins is kind of like, Ring of Honor. But it would have been nice if those guys could have just made one appearance. Even if it was just all in one segment where they all argued with each other. And, whatever about who was the greatest Ring of Honor champion or something like that. And you just got all these guys coming to the ring. It would have popped the crowd. And it wouldn't have did you any harm because they're not going to be selling t-shirts of it or anything like that. They might sell a couple of DVDs of the segment or something. They may get some more people talking about it. But the company is essentially dead. WWE got to do better than this. It's one thing to not want to help your competition. It's another thing to just be like, you know what? Ring of Honor, fuck them. You're like, damn, it ain't got to be like that. It don't have to be that vicious when it comes to business. But I wouldn't say AEW did much better because the only people they sent in person was Jay Lethal to do a job, and it's not like they were really doing anything with Jay Lethal anyway. And then FTR, who they sent so they can start an angle with the Briscoes. So I don't know, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, donate. Please don't let me go out like Ring of Honor. I don't want to go out sad. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.